Good morning, everybody that already joined. Here we are for another. Webinar, as some of you already know, the main objective of this webinar is to make available a platform for the business community of Portugal and Hong Kong to network. And of course, for that purpose, we always try to bring the speakers to share with you some insightful information. So today we will have first of all, the team is access to third markets. On the one hand, we will have the Greater Bay Area, and on the other hand, the Portuguese-speaking countries. To speak about the last, Mr. Luís Tavares Bravo is the director of Bison Bank's Investment Advisory Division, managing non-discretionary portfolios. Luís has extensive experience in investment banking and senior analytical roles, such as investment strategist and head of Iberian research for Barclays Bank, and as managing partner at DIF Capital, an Iberian M&A boutique. Outside banking, Luís has been active in think tanks, having co-founded in 2019 the Lisbon-based International Affairs Network and publishing economic and European geopolitical themed articles. Since 2015, he has been writing a regular column in Jornal Económico newspaper, as well as other articles within economic focused media. Mrs. Camille Vera is a CWCPA business advisor and a member of the Brazil desk. Of course, Miss Camille is Brazilian, and she is responsible for the development of marketing strategies and to assist Portuguese-speaking clients to set up and navigate their business in Hong Kong and mainland China. So, thank you very much, everybody, for joining. And after this introduction, I will pass the floor to Luís. And first of all, Luís, I will have to make you host. Give me a second.
Okay, good morning.
And so that I will make you host. There you go. There you go. So that you share your screen.
First of all, good morning. Thank you all. Thank you for having us and for inviting me to participate in your webinar. Bernardo, I don't think I'm still enabled to share the screen. It still appears to me the error message.
Right now, I'm not the host anymore.
Yeah, it says Luís, you're not the host, Luís, so it should try it.
Okay, I've received the notification now. It was a lag. Okay, so as I was saying, we are very pleased to accept your invitation to talk a bit about the way we see the Portugal and as a platform for international investment, foreign direct investment. It has been one of the ways that Portugal has found to cope with the most recent recessions from 2009, 2010. So it's a very important theme, and we have in terms of structure for this talk, in terms of talking points for this theme. I would say that I'm going to structure it on three approaches. So the first of all, which is the cultural and diplomatic and geographic and geopolitical background or backdrop about the Portuguese legacy and culture. So the way that the 15th century has influenced the way Portugal may work this opportunity around. And then on the second stage, we're going to see about discuss a bit about how is the current Portuguese setup for foreign direct investment, what has been done in recent years, And finally, we would address an example which has to do with the Asian angle and the new Silk Road project, and how can Portugal fit a bit on this. So I would start. From the cultural side. So as you probably know from history books, Portugal was engaged in building maritime expansion in the 15th century, and that has worked. Has resulted in the first, what is commonly known as the first global empire in the world. So the country has built commercial routes, and it has the key thing that I would like to say here is that it has always been about commercial routes. So there was this hegemonic situation regarding products coming from Asia that came from Marco Polo travels, and the Venetian hegemonic situation regarding commercial trade. And the Portuguese have established a very important commercial routes, and with that came a multi-secular empire that was spread around the world, and which has a very interesting legacy, which is Portugal is a small country, but it has access and privileged diplomatic relations with the former colonies, and this is about 250 million Portuguese speakers, and with a common, which is the fifth largest community speaking language in the world, and it's considered to be at this time one of the most important languages for the upcoming decades. So we have, if we have checked the language for the report for the language for the future, which was produced, a report produced for the UK commercial community, and it's also a working language in the European Union and in relevant organizations such as the Ibero-American states and the African Union, among others. So this has paved way for a cultural bias that can bode well with Portugal. So recently, in the last decades, this has been capitalized in a structure which is called CPLP. So this is the community with 9 countries that use the Portuguese language, and is also, like we would say, a prevailer, or an institution that is set to prevail not only the language but the ties and the cultural legacy from Lusophony, what we would call the Lusophony. So going forward.
Luis, I'm sorry, Luis. Sorry to interrupt. Before you go to this slide, can you please check on participants if there is anyone pending admission, and you just click on admit.
Okay, it's done.
Thank you.
Thank you. So going a bit forward, and so this means that Portugal has these days has a geographic positioning, a culture, a common culture, a structure of that, like CPLP, that is a forum for this culture and language. And Portugal is also a member of the EU, and the EU is of course a huge player in the world, and that this allows Portugal to have the financial, the political, the monetary policy security that a big player like Eurozone provides for and protection, and in terms of compliance and all those factors that that protect the interests of foreign investments in these countries and in the hubs that are built on these countries. So this is another adventure for Portugal, and of course we are talking also about 600 million potential consumers that are tied to this, let's say, this set of cultural connections. And finally, there is this clutch factor. I would say that this is a very important factor, which is Portugal is uniquely positioned in the intersection of shipping routes between Europe, America, Asia. So this today places a very interesting situation in terms of geographic and what is also, if we consider the factors that we have spoken, a very appealing driver for foreign direct investors that are looking to create hubs for these key regions where Portugal has diplomatic ties, diplomatic and cultural ties. So, but this is a bit of what we've seen, and this graphic, this next slide, is to show that already Portugal, these factors that I explained, are already a bit perceived by the market. So especially in the last years, we have seen that a lot of the intensity of this means this graphic what explains is the export and import intensity either for domestic owned firms or foreign owned firms. The content of the exports that come out from Portugal and that are mainly driven by foreign owned companies are higher than the ones that are referred for the domestic owned firms. So this is usually considered a very reliable measure to understand the country's position as a part of a global value chain. And as we see here on both graphs, either on import intensity and export intensity, the companies that are owned by foreign entities, so by foreign for foreign investors, are perceiving Portugal as a hub to trade abroad. So there's already this, and this is higher than the median from OECD countries. So it means that Portugal is already perceived as a hub to invest and to connect to other locations. Of course, there's a weight here a great weight for the automotive industry and the United States. But it's also a very driven hub for the Portuguese-speaking language countries. But the key message here is, yes, Portugal is already profiting on the fact that it has a very great location, very good connections with the Atlantic path for commercial routes. And so it's perceived already as a value for the global chain of commerce. And in terms of sectors, just to add on this on my statement, so we have seen the industry and IT related production, has computers and electronics, rising in the pie that goes with the exported products, and this suggests, of course, an upward move in the value chain. So it's not just cheap goods or cheap. It's just not about the price. It's about the location and about the ties for commercial and trading. And this is important because if we go now for the second part of our presentation, which will talk a bit about what Portugal has to offer in terms of infrastructure and capacity. This shows that in recent years, Portugal has moved higher in terms of competitiveness and in terms of infrastructure. So today, Portugal ranks 19th on 140 countries from this analysis that was produced by the EY Attractiveness Report. And this means that the attractiveness survey for Portugal is very positive, as 86% of the established investors consider that transports and logistics are attractive, and the communications are also being part that has been that has come up very positively in this survey. And we can see this as we see, especially on the digital economy and society index, that Portugal is also has been ranked very high in terms of infrastructure and digital infrastructure. So Portugal has, so to say, a lot of facilities, is much more prepared, and it keeps working on. Has been working on the last decade on rebranding and restructuring its key infrastructure to help interconnect services within the country, and also on infrastructure to serve the export ambitions from investors. Another factor that is important to talk is human capital. So at this time, Portugal is considered a country with a very good leveling of human capital, and especially if we consider that what are the average wages paid in Portugal for professionals that are qualified. It's still very in terms of value paid. It's very much compares very well with the rest of Europe, and we can see this also as Portugal ranks 18th in this 130 studies for human capital reports. It ranks 18th in terms of skill diversity of graduates. So this means that there are a lot of qualified people in Portugal, and especially qualified people that have language skills. So in average, Portuguese professionals speak on average 3 to 4 different languages, and can cope it very well with international investors and international working environments. Despite this, of course, there are considerations and not less positive factors that have voted to not attract as much investment as in the past 2 or 3 decades, that were related or that Portugal was considered, and still is considered, much bureaucratic country for foreign investment. The last years, especially after the Sterling intervention, Portugal has engaged into a series of reforms, and with the scope of lifting a bit the administrative burden, or what is usually considered the red tape for international investment. And it's today one of the countries in the EU, for example, that impose less restrictions or less barriers for foreign investment, much less than the average on the OECD countries. And this has worked well. So Portugal has been, according to what we see in some reports, the Doing Business report has reduced by 17%. So an entrepreneurship is also a very popular activity today in Portugal. Portugal has transformed itself not only in terms of red tape, but also in terms of incentives for young and for the startups, and for the what we would call a digitalization process of the economy. And we have seen this especially with the efforts that have been done by attracting huge events for Portugal. I think the Web Summit is, of course, the most famous of all. So it's the Europe's largest event in terms of high tech, but also with the Money Conference, which is a fintech conference, and it could be on its second edition or so. and a lot of programs that are being set up by the governments, which is related with creating hubs, interconnecting hubs with the business angels and public and European programs to lift this sector. So we can say that there is of course still a lot to do in terms of reforms. The country has still a lot some path to move on, but a lot has been done in recent years, and there is an evidence that there is a solid commitment of the country moving towards more open and focusing and in innovation. The results that we have seen with the reforms recently have, this is a map, this is a graphic that talks about the perception of the investors and what is the way they see for the next decade their perception for Europe and all the state members. And there is a perception for Portugal, as you can see, that is considered very attractive right now for implementing projects, and much higher than it is the average in the European Union. Of course, there is still some remarks to say what is the real intention. So in terms of materialization of the attractiveness of the country, things are still very in line with what is the average investment intentions in Europe. So it's 25% of the investors that are considering to really invest in the survey. But there is, of course, a perception that Portugal is posh. Is attractive, and is making its efforts to create a commitment and to build an ecosystem that is very friendly for international investment and to raise capital for these conditions. So again, and looking a bit on what has been done until now. So the projects in Portugal have been, this map shows a bit what is the origin in terms of where does the money come from. So who are the companies and where are they from, and where is the money and the intentions of investment coming from. So most of them are still European. France, of course, takes the lion's share here. They have been investing a lot in Portugal, especially in terms of projects related with not only real estate, but especially real estate. It has been a booming age for booming years for real estate projects, and there are fiscal advantages for that. So France has been one of the key investor. Then Spain and Germany. So the core countries in Europe are the ones that have created not only the perception, but they are now moving faster to invest in Portugal on the shorter term. And of course, it seems there is also the current situation regarding trade tensions between the US and China that has probably created some hurdles in terms of investors getting back to looking into smaller countries or non-core countries like Portugal. But still, there are reasons to believe, we think, that there are, if we go through the mist and through this pandemic situation, and after probably after November and after all these things get more clarity, there are reasons to believe that foreign direct investment could also diversify and become less dependent on what is the intercommunitary countries, especially as some of these drivers that we have talked do materialize, especially when it's related with the visibility of Portugal as a hub. On this slide, this takes us a bit with the last theme from my side. So when we talk about diversification, of course, there is a huge visibility of what is the new Silk Road project, and we are talking about, of course, from China. And in terms of the relation that Portugal already has with China, which is not, of course, the most important in terms of Europe. So this graph shows the cumulative value of foreign direct investments from China into all the European countries from 2000 and 2002 until 2019, and we see that there is already a above average commitment of China in Portugal in terms of investment. And but this is not the only situation. China seems to be of course the first large non-European country that has realized of the value that Portugal may hold for the strategy of using a safe hub in a safe economic region to further enhance trade activities with Portuguese-speaking countries. First of all, there are very good relations with the country, so it's also a part of that cultural legacy that Portugal has from the 15th century, and that has lasted and has been reignited recently, especially after the visit of President Xi Jinping in 2018, and that resulted in more than 17 cooperation agreements, and that positioned the investment that may be realized in the following years. Of course, there is this huge will from China, because they are already a key trading partner of 3 Portuguese-speaking countries like Brazil, Angola, and Mozambique. There's also a huge interest from China in increasing trade with these countries, and the fact that Portugal has a geographic strategic positioning, and with a port like the port of Sines, that is the key Portugal sea gate to the Atlantic, would have an importance here, given that there is this clutch factor from the key maritime routes. There is a diplomatic relationship, there is the cultural legacy and relations that Portugal has with these countries, and there is the need, of course, in a lot of structural projects that from China, mainly on not just what it has been doing on traditional trade, but also on the agriculture sector. And for example, Angola and Brazil are countries with huge and massive capacities for exploring more these sort of investment projects. So just key ideas in a nutshell. So from this presentation, first of all, the historical ties from all times and geographic leverage do provide a key factor for Portugal. So especially with focus in Africa and America. Also, Portugal is also part of the UE, which is a safe and solid bloc that provides stability in terms of monetary and financing and protection for the investors. And as we have seen, the geographic factor and the structures that exist, infrastructures that exist, are able to provide and capitalize on the intersection, the unique position at the intersection of key shipping routes between Europe, America, and Asia. And this, of course, makes it an appealing investment hub for foreign investment. And that is, of course, what, for example, China is looking. Portugal is also been working on further reforms in order to create investor-friendly ecosystem. So as we have seen, after the 2009 global crisis, Portugal has been intervened and has produced legislative measures to reduce red tape, and that has been has been stalled sometimes, but it has never lost. It was never lost in time, and is a key commitment from the governments, and that is a reassuring factor for investors also. And this has led to a rise and a steady maintenance in ranks around the world. So Portugal is very well perceived today as having a very solid infrastructure, good capital, human capital, and this has resulted in attractiveness indexes that are making Portugal a very compelling place to invest, and with above averages or more than the average of the EU. So this is basically what I had to prepare for you. So I will now step the floor.
Thank you so much. Yes, please. Luis, thank you very much. It's very good and very good quality information. And if you are able, yes, thank you. And then we will send to everyone. Now I will ask you to check if anyone pending admission, and then please pass to Camille to be the host, okay, so that she can share the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so how do I ask for?
You just go to Camille, and then you will have the option of making host. Camille.
I will go to, sorry?
Camille Vera. In the participants.
Oh, in the participants, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Top right-hand corner.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I think.
Perfect. Camille, we're looking forward for your presentation.
Thank you. Let me see if we can share the screen. Just check. Here. I can directly here. Yeah, good. Good to go. So, hi everyone again. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at right now. And for those that were not present when Bernardo did the presentation, my name is Camille, and I'm a business advisor at CWCPA. CW is a consulting and accounting firm that helps foreign business to set up in China, Hong Kong, and Macau. My main focus at CW is to develop and to assist the Portuguese-speaking countries market. And today I will talk briefly about the GBA and the key role of Hong Kong in this region. So, as you can see in the map, the Greater Bay Area is located in the southeastern regions of China. The GBA encompasses 9 cities in the Guangdong province, and as well as the 2 special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau. All of the cities are within only 3 hours of reach of each other. The GBA is currently the largest Bay Area in the world in terms of land size and population. If we compare with other important Bay cities in the world, the GBA is 2.6 times as big as the New York metropolitan area, and the population is 9 times as big as the one at the San Francisco Bay Area. In terms of GDP, the World Bank data shows that the GBA would rank as the world's 12th largest economy, right behind South Korea. And although the GBA only accounts for 0.6% of China's land and 5% of its population, it is responsible for 12% of the country's GDP. And the average GDP per capita is more than double the China average. Of course, when we look at the GDP per capita, the San Francisco Bay Area produces roughly 5 times more than the GBA. But that's what the GBA initiative is aiming for, to reduce this productivity gap over the next decade. So, the Greater Bay Area is a national initiative highlighted in the Chinese government 13th five-year plan. The GBA concept has been observed for about a decade to finally take shape. And there are two main documents released in 2019, which outline the blueprint of what the GBA entails for the next decades. In summary, the GBA initiative aims to build a world-class city cluster in the southern China and a globally competitive mega region by the year of 2035. China's action plan for the next 2 to 3 years is to support the development of a digital world with R&D innovation capabilities to improve the transport and logistic infrastructure, to expand the modern service, and to open up the financial sector by collaborating more with Hong Kong and Macau. And they also aim to encourage young professionals, not just within this area, but from all over the world, to come on to the GBA for work, live, and to do business. There are a total of 11 cities in the GBA. 4 cities are identified as the core cities, which includes Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Macau, and Guangzhou. The rest of the cities, due to its economic potential that is yet to catch up, they are considered as keynote cities. And each of these cities have their own unique advantages and are designed to a specific role in the GBA plan. The heart of the GBA initiative is the development of a productivity cluster amongst the 4 core cities. The other cities will feed off the strength of the core cities and specialize in high-value manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, energy, and other industries supporting the development of the core productivity clusters. The cities will be connected through various newly built infrastructures to facilitate the free flow of people and goods. I'm sorry, my slide is not going forward. Just a moment. Now you went too much. Okay, let's look at the positioning of these 4 core cities. I will start with Hong Kong and its key role as a core city in the GBA. Hong Kong is the most international city in the GBA with a business-friendly environment, free economic system, and well-established information technology infrastructure and financial system. To give an example of these characteristics, in Hong Kong, you can set up a company in 7 days. There is no minimum capital requirement to open the company, and the bank account has foreign exchange services in 10 different currencies, and it has a low tax burden. Business can also leverage on Hong Kong's strong financial service sector for access and risk management. When it comes to dispute resolution, Hong Kong is positioned to become the international legal and dispute resolution services center in the Asia Pacific region. The GBA initiative places Hong Kong to continue its influence as an international transportation, logistics, and aviation hub due to its sound transport system and world-class infrastructure. And Hong Kong also contributes to increase and improve the transport connectivity within the Greater Bay Area by providing its cross-boundary infrastructure with significant projects that will reduce traveling time between Hong Kong and other cities in the Greater Bay Area. Well, let's talk about the other important core cities. We'll start with Macau. Macau is 60 kilometers away from Hong Kong across the sea. Its tax rate is among the lowest in the GBA. Similar to Hong Kong, it is a free port with no foreign exchange control. The GBA plan for Macau is to develop the city into a global tourism and leisure center and an economic and trade platform between China and Portuguese-speaking countries. And about Shenzhen, it is a leading special economic zone that pioneered China's reform and opening up. As you may know, Shenzhen is often referred as the Silicon Valley of China, with its strength in high-tech manufacturing and hardware development. It is said that 1 week of work in Shenzhen is equal to 1 month at the Silicon Valley. Shenzhen became a global epicenter of high-tech design and production by combining all aspects of the supply chain from design to manufacturing in just one place. And lastly, Guangzhou. Guangzhou is the capital of Guangdong province, and it is a national historical and cultural city. Guangzhou is quite unknown as a gateway city to China in terms of international commerce and transportation. The city uses high-speed railways to connect to the rest of the country. And the Greater Bay Area master plan for Guangzhou is to develop the city into an international commerce and industry center and a transport hub. So what does it entail to do business in the Greater Bay Area? What benefits does it give it to you? We will summarize the benefits in 4 areas. The first one, you enjoy more government collaboration. In order to integrate the 11 cities and to enhance the exchange of people, goods, and capital, we expect that there will be lots of cross-boundary projects between the 2 special administrative regions and the 9 mainland cities in the areas of innovation, technology, financial services, transportation and logistics, education, art and cultural exchange, and etc. We believe that a lot of businesses can either take part of this project by providing services, solutions, or enjoy the beneficial outcome as a result of this project. Take innovation technology as an example. The government of Hong Kong and Shenzhen are jointly developing the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park, which will be the largest ever innovation and technology platform in Hong Kong. One of our clients is a Mexican architecture design firm, and they recently participated in a bidding for a project to design office buildings in this technology park. The second point, you make better use of Hong Kong or Macau's free open economic environment to structure investment into mainland China. The existing double taxation arrangements between Hong Kong, Macau, and China, and the closer economic partnership agreement among these regions provide a better access to the mainland market as a foreign investor. For the third point, you enjoy a higher connectivity in terms of logistics and transportation. There are numerous new projects aiming at increasing the connectivity between the cities and to the rest of the country, including high-speed railways, cross-border bridges, and new airports. Nowadays, you can travel to 2 to 3 cities and have business meetings within 1 day. Last but not least, the fourth point, you enjoy the complementary advantages each city can offer. For example, a company that develops and sells certain electronic products can set up a company in Hong Kong for investment, holding, and doing business with other international markets, then set up a subsidiary in Shenzhen to manage the supply chain and hardware research and development. or a branch office in Guangzhou for distribution to the rest of the country. Or you can even set up a manufacturer assembling plant in another low-cost GBA city. Depending on your business objectives, you have plenty of planning opportunities to maximize your operational efficiency. I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. Thank you. And if you have any questions or if you want to know more about the GBA or how to set up a business in the GBA, you can reach me by email, LinkedIn, and WeChat that are shown in this slide. Thank you, and I will pass it on for you guys.
Thank you, Camille. Thank you very much. We will now pass to Thomas. Is Thomas with you, Camille? Yes.
Yeah, right here.
Thomas.
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Hello,
any
Thomas
questions for
again.
me? Hello, hello.
Maybe some questions, but we would also like you to say a couple of words regarding Hong Kong, the role of Hong Kong in this Greater Bay Area. Why is this an opportunity for Portuguese companies as well?
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning and good afternoon to participants, who joined this webinar. I'm Thomas Wong, partner of CWCPA, and also looks after the Latin department, where we have businesses, in Latin America, Brazil, and also as Portugal as well. And the reason that why I would like to promote Greater Bay Area is that, Greater Bay Area, it's an area just next to Hong Kong, and where Hong Kong is the financial hub, not only for the whole of China, but also especially in this Greater Bay Area hub. And as what Camille just now explained, Greater Bay Area has its potential, like, the Silicon Valley of the States. So we would like to promote the Greater Bay Area of China, to be another Silicon Valley, because we know our strength that we have two administrative regions, special administrative region, Hong Kong and Macau, plus the 9 cities in China, in the Greater Bay Area. Of the 2 special administrative region cities, Hong Kong and Macau, Macau is a Portuguese-speaking colony before it was returned to China. So, with Hong Kong being a financial hub, plus, Macau being, a very Portuguese city. I have been to a lot of Portuguese restaurants in Macau, by the way. So therefore, we see that the Greater Bay Area can attract a lot of, Portuguese-speaking businessmen, into this area, where they want to use this area, where they, want to sell their products in this area, and where they want to do business in this area because of the huge population in this area, 9 cities and 2 special administrative region. And therefore, since, now the world is having a lot of challenging and interesting time, so Greater Bay Area still draws a lot of attention, to people. Worldwide, as I have witnessed, as an accountant, I have been receiving a lot of inquiries from Brazil recently, and also, hopefully also from Portugal now, because Portugal is a Portuguese-speaking country, definitely. And so therefore, with big players from Brazil and, players from Portugal, so therefore, this Greater Bay Area will be a new focus, for people, from Portugal and for people in, the Portuguese-speaking countries. So having said all that, I always believe that as a businessman, one should not be staying away, in old-fashioned, in those familiar roles. And Greater Bay Area is very new concept, only, in this recent few years, or 3 years, I would say so. So therefore, I would strongly appeal, to participants who join this webinar to think of, investing and to know more, about this Greater Bay Area. And I hope that, the participants and even people in Portugal, can learn more from Bernardo, learn more, from your chamber, how we can help them to set foot in the Greater Bay Area via Hong Kong and even via Macau. So this is something that I would like to use this chance, to promote and to preach, to the participants of this webinar. So that's all from me, Bernardo. Any questions for me regarding Greater Bay Area? Just let me know.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. So since we are a small group today, I would say if anyone has any specific question, you may just unmute yourself and jump in. Just introduce yourself and let us know what your question is. And in the meantime, if you don't have any questions, let me ask both Thomas and Luis, what kind of services would you provide to, in one case, in Thomas' case, people coming from Portugal, and in Luis' case, people coming from Hong Kong are looking to invest in Portugal? Thank you.
Luis first, all right? So you are the banker. So the banker talks first, accountant will follow afterwards, all right?
Thank you all. No, so Bison is setting up a representative office in Hong Kong. So soon we will be ready to help inhabitants from the city to invest in Europe. So Bison Bank, of course, it has its legal bound in Lisbon, but we are ready to help our clients that wants to invest or would want to have a more definitive move to Europe, and we can assist on the financial and the banking part. So we have been we are specialized, of course, in managing high net worth and ultra high net worth accounts. So my business is related to the wealth management. But we are also ready with investment banking department that can help institutional investors to engage with Europe, and especially with Portugal, which is and Iberia, which is where we are based. And this is our key points. Of course, we have partners and partnerships that help to liaise the red tape and the more bureaucratic parts of investing in an European country. We are not legal or fiscal advisors, but we can also help them to come on board into Europe. On our side, we are already working in terms of advisory solutions, investment advisory solutions, and discretionary portfolios. So that is the work that we are already engaging into, and we are launching a new set of products that it's not yet the place to discuss them, but we will go forward in the next 12 months in order to create a valuable offer proposition for Asian investors in Portugal. So if you are detailed people, you will see that our motto is and our objective is to be the Euro-Asian partner of clients. So this is the bridge we are trying to construct, and we hope it gains traction on the forthcoming quarters. Okay.
Thank you, Luis. Thomas, please unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself first. Thomas, sorry, you need to unmute yourself.
So slowly. Okay. Here?
Yeah.
All right. So we unmute ourselves just now. We now unmute ourselves. Now, so the accountant will talk after the banker. So, in any kind of business, you need a banker first to go through the transaction. So, of course, the Portuguese-speaking country businessman, would love to use a Portuguese bank. And the Portuguese speaking country businessman would like to use an accountant that has very good connection with Portugal and Brazil. And that is, of course, Thomas Wong. But of course, I can help, you know, the Portuguese-speaking country businessman to set a business in Hong Kong as well as in the Greater Bay Area. That is no problem. I can set up the company. I can, you know, certify documents for them to open the bank account with the bank, Bissau Bank, no problem. And I can look after their books and accounts. But what is more important is that as an accountant for over 30 years already, and I have built an extensive network, you know, all over the world, including China and including Greater Bay Area, including, of course, the 9 cities in China, of course, Shenzhen and Guangzhou. So I have been the rep of the Shenzhen government, representing them, you know, in Latin America for 3 years consecutively. And I'm also the investment advisor, international investment advisor of Guangzhou. So therefore, of course, you know, with this network, you know, I can connect the Portuguese businessman to the Chinese businessman, where this is a niche that me as an accountant, I can do. A lot of accountants, they can just only do accounting, auditing, and bookkeeping. But what is extra from me, our firm, is that we can connect the Portuguese-speaking businessman, you know, to the Chinese businessman. Then hopefully transaction will be generated. So I've been doing this for big companies like Brazil, you know, Positivo, like Imaginarium, many, I can count a lot. So this is my niche. Not only I can help the Portuguese-speaking countries, but also I help the Chinese businessmen as well create employment. This is my role. So I think that, well, in a nutshell, you know, now as an accountant, an accountant has to be in the business advisory as well. Business advisory means connecting the dots, connecting the businessmen, you know, from overseas to China businessmen. So this is something I would like to, you know, share with Portugal, Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce, with Bernardo, you know, with your members in the future. So of course, you know, the participants, you know, today is small because they do not know what they can get from, you know, the bank, Bissau Bank, and from me. But if they know that in the future they can get, you know, businesses for me, connecting them, you know, to the businessmen in the Greater Bay Area, I'm sure next time, you know, the webinar will be more participants, will be overflow. Okay, so that's all from me.
Thank you, Thomas. I see that, Oscar, do you want to say something?
Okay. Well, thank you, Bernardo, for passing the floor. Sorry, I've just I late joined, so I was only able to see and to watch Luis and Kimberly a presentation. Also say hello, good morning. I'm seeing Paula as well. Thomas, very nice to meet you. Actually, I totally I see myself in Thomas. Although I'm not that senior, I have much less experience, but we try to, I mean, to also to promote that region. That's our main challenge. We see this region, I mean, representing a lot of opportunities for Portuguese-speaking countries, like Thomas said. And of course, Hong Kong is always an international hub and provide, I mean, the assistance and the capabilities to install overseas companies in that part of the world. Paula always says in her presentations, this is China for beginners, correct? Chinese for beginners. So I think it's a very happy and a very nice way to put it. I see exactly in the same manner. It's a gateway. It's a gateway to this to that huge market. Not necessarily mainland China, but also Southeast Asia. I mean, times are tough for everyone. I mean, we've seen this pandemic for 6 months already. But I think also this is the opportunity to look for new challenges, and this is the opportunity to see whether there are some capabilities in that part of the world. From our side, we are committed to promoting Hong Kong as a business jurisdiction also, and we count with local partners and with local people to help with that.
Thank you very much. So we're actually over our time, and as always, I would like to end on time. So I would like firstly to say thank you to Paula from Invest Hong Kong. She is always available on the platform. I would like also to say thank you to Thomas and to CW, and I would like to thank Luis for being with us for the second time. Last time it was physical presence at the Medical Association, and this time through online. So thank you, Bison Bank, also. Thank you all, and feel free to say goodbye. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.